Like turtles, ants, and humans, a game has a life cycle to live through. Each stage is essential to bring a game to life by completing specific goals. It will keep your project on track and give you many victories along the way. Hello Turtles, I'm Tim Bodette, and today we're talking about the development cycle of a video game. There are 6 major development phases we are going to explore: idea generation, pre-production, alpha dev, beta dev, wrap-up, and marketing, which starts as an idea is formed. Many games also have a 7th phase for post-release content, and a studio should go through a reflection phase before starting the next project. Idea generation. This is perhaps one of the favorite stages for most developers, as ideas are very fun to toy around with and imagine. The objective of the idea generation phase is to figure out what game you will be working on. There will be a future video diving deeper into the process of choosing a good idea, so subscribe to learn more about game development. It is advantageous as a business to brainstorm multiple concepts and go through a process to find the most attractive and feasible of the bunch. Not all developers care about selling games or making a business from it. However, investigating how feasible the project is before tackling it, for a business or hobbyist, can prevent heartache. Choosing ideas that you can actually build also increases the chances of reaching the finish line and having a complete game. For those making games as a business, ensuring the concept is attractive to your target audience is necessary. How will you sell a game that nobody wants? Another potential thought you may wish to consider when choosing an idea is how it fits with your long-term goals. Does it help you move closer to a bigger dream project? Does it allow you to learn a new technique, or could you progress your career? Again, as a hobbyist, all other considerations could be outweighed by how fun the project will be to create. Pre-production. During pre-production, you should map out a very rough plan how you will complete the idea. Do not plan out each little detail. Get to know major landmarks to aim at, and double check that the scope remains feasible. If you have questions like, is the idea fun? Or, can I build that feature? Now is the time to find those answers. It is important to answer honestly. You may need to build a prototype or proof of concept to have confidence. If you find the idea is too big to develop, or the concept isn't actually fun, or some other problem with your plan, then just go back to the idea generation phase. Go find and pick a new idea that is more feasible and or attractive. If you find an idea that doesn't work, even if it looked amazing at first, you will have saved yourself a lot of time, effort, and heartache by choosing a different idea. It might be hard to set it aside, but you can always approach it later when skills or resources have improved. When running a business around building games, it is very important that you have confidence the game is attractive before moving on to the next phase. You should see a rough plan that will lead to the final product and have a reasonable idea that it will fit within a time schedule you've allotted. Alpha development. Build out all the technologies and features that the game will require and get the core game loop working. Keep everything simple and stick to what is required rather than building out features you think of along the way. You already got a plan from pre-production that covered all the major landmarks. If something is missing, don't add random features. Jump back to pre-production mode and explore what is necessary to make sure you can find new additions that fit the idea and remain feasible for the rest of the project. Game development is highly iterative, and you will be jumping to the previous phases of the cycle from time to time. During this phase, you do not have a build to label as alpha, as that is still under development. Maybe at the very end of the phase, you can begin alpha testing. Until the game is playable and containing all the features, it is still too early to label the build as an alpha build. Generally, only internal testing is going on at this point, so the game builds do not have a name like alpha or beta. If you do perform external testing prior to completing this phase, it is more likely to still be a prototype or pre-alpha build. If you find a better name for this, please let me know in the comments below. Upon reaching the end of the alpha development phase, you will have a playable game with all the features it will need. Perhaps a first level and a test level that ensures those features work as intended. This is your alpha build. Congratulations on reaching a milestone. Beta development. Now that you have all the features you will need for the game to work, it is time to start adding all the content. Creating the levels, characters, story, and the things that fill your game world. This doesn't need to be the very final versions, but it should be close to it. At the end of beta development stage, you'll be able to play through the entire game from start to finish. The game will be looking mostly like the final product, though you may have a few things that need final tweaks. Wrap up and polish. This is one of the most tedious phases that takes the most amount of time. If you ever heard the saying, the last 10% takes 90% of the time, this is where it goes. Fixing the smallest issues and aligning pixels to the perfect locations. While finishing touches are good, it is important to watch out for the perfection monster. The perfection monster never lets go of anything. There will always be things you want to change or add to every game. One way I have found to keep the perfection monster at bay is to set a hard time limit or deadline to freeze production. This requires estimating the time and effort required to reach a high quality bar, but once set keeps you on track. It is important to constantly ask yourself if what you are tweaking actually holds value to the target player. Also, do not extend the deadline, as that is a sign that the monster came back out. You can always make a sequel with the features you wish there was time for. This is also the period of time where you're dealing with getting certified on the platforms you desire launching on. Some consoles have a fairly in-depth process for this and can be very time-consuming. Once you get through cert, you have the build all wrapped up, you now have a release candidate, and you have made it quite far on your journey of building a game. But you are not finished, and you are not ready to release just yet. Marketing phase. With your release candidate ready, you need to get players hyped for your game. If you are working with a publisher or team, you may do this simultaneously with a wrap-up phase. However, if you are a solo developer, or a small team that can't give everything your full attention, splitting into separate phases will help. Do not just release the game because you have a release candidate ready. Build up some hype. I want to be clear, this marketing phase started at the very beginning when brainstorming different ideas. You should have been calculating how attractive each idea was to your target audience and coming up with some plans or materials along the way. What features or selling points does the game have? A business in games must be asking this throughout the entire process. When developing games as a hobby, sales matter less than having fun with the development process. The marketing phase never really stops from when the idea is conceived until the project lays in its final resting spot. During alpha and beta development phases, you may not be creating screenshots, videos, or other marketing materials, but you should be constantly reviewing how attractive each feature, character, and level is to the target audience. The marketing hat always remains on. Post-release content. Those are the 6 phases that every game will go through, but some games get extra content through DLC and other updates. In some cases, this can make a not-so-successful game become financially rewarding for its developers. Depending on the game, DLC and updates may have been built into the schedule from the very start, or added later as a community grew around the game. Each update will follow the same development life cycle on a smaller scale. Each update needs planning for feasibility, building out the features, content creation, and hype before its final release. Again, this phase doesn't affect all games the same. Some may skip it entirely, and others may have many content releases after launch. Project review. When you are ready to focus on the next project, it is valuable to look back and review what you can learn about this one. I review how my business in racing games is doing every month using a process described in this video. Most of that process can be used to reflect on the project as a whole. If you dig deep, there will be lots of lessons to learn that will improve future projects. A lot of developers share this review as a post-mortem, as it may help others as well. This phase isn't really for the project as much as it is for the developers of the game. It is also very short compared to other phases, taking at most a few days of thinking and reflecting. Today we covered the various phases of development cycle of a game. Idea generation is where you find an attractive idea that can be completed with your current skills and resources. Pre-production to plan out the landmarks and build confidence the game is fun and something you can finish. Alpha development to build out the features required for the game to work, and beta development to create the content to bring the world to life. Wrap it all up with some polish and passing certification to have completed the release candidate. Marketing starts from the very beginning and also creates hype for launch day. Some games have post-release updates that follow the same cycle, and your future games can benefit from reflecting how the process went. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, share it with other game developers, and subscribe for more game development tips and techniques. Until later, Turtles, have a good one.